Good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Ridhima Bhatnagar. Our big story this Tuesday evening. There are IT teams present at the BBC offices in Delhi as well as Mumbai. They're carrying out a survey and have been there for almost over 5 hours. According to sources, we're understanding that these surveys are reportedly being conducted over allegations of tax irregularities. As per sources, an investigation has been ordered as the IT department has found data which indicates tax evasion. The BBC's balance sheets and account details have been reportedly sought by the department. The BBC has also now confirmed that they in fact are IT teams present at their offices and they are cooperating with the agencies. Meanwhile, the opposition is up in arms, attacking the centre, accusing it of an undeclared emergency.
यहाँ हम जेपीसी की मांग कर रहे हैं अडानी के मामले में और वहां सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे पड़ी हुई है। विनाशकाले विपरीत बुद्धि।
बीबीसी के अगर कृत्य देखें, जिसके उदाहरण मैं आपके समक्ष अभी पेश करूंगा, तो ये पूरे विश्व की सबसे भ्रष्ट बकवास कॉरपोरेशन हो गई है। बीबीसी का जो इतिहास है, कलंकित, काला, द्वेष भावना से भारत के खिलाफ कार्य करने का रहा है। और दुख की बात यह है कि बीबीसी का प्रोपेगेंडा और कांग्रेस का एजेंडा एक साथ मेल खाता है।
So as we said that you do have the IT teams present at the BBC offices both in the national capital and Mumbai. But what are they doing there? What is the survey that they're carrying? And what are the kind of documents that they're looking into as well? Let's break down all the details of what we know so far as to why the IT teams continue to be at these offices for over 5 hours and counting. This is all that we're picking up by the means of sources and what they're telling CNN News 18. The first big takeaway is that this survey is in view of deliberate non-compliance. There are certain tax irregularities that are under the scanner of the IT department. What we're also understanding is this non-compliance with transfer pricing rules, and that is why a lot of balance sheets and documents have been sought by the BBC as well. What we're also understanding is this exercise is called a survey, not a search or raid, and this is important to understand because this is exactly where the BJP is hitting back at the opposition, saying that first let the entire process be complete before you even attack the centre. As of now, this is only a survey and let's see what the findings are. What we're also understanding is these surveys are conducted on a routine basis. While the opposition is up in arms attacking the BJP government, this is exactly what the BJP is doing. One, we don't even know what the entire takeaway from these surveys are, and secondly, let the agencies at least do their work. The other takeaway is that as far as these surveys are concerned, persistent non-compliance with rules for years. So as I said, in the backdrop of all of this, a lot of key documents have also been sought by the BBC. The BBC, in fact, has also confirmed that there are IT department officials at their offices. What we're also understanding is several notices had already been issued to the BBC, and this is where it becomes problematic. What sources are also telling us that BBC, in fact, has been defiant and non-compliant, and that's why these surveys today are taking place. There was also internal communication that was sent out by the BBC to its employees, asking employees to either go back home or stay at home and not come to the offices. What sources are also telling us here at CNN News 18 that BBC has diverted their profits, and that is why these surveys today are taking place. The IT department officials currently also looking into manipulation of prices for benefits, and that, if proven, is a very serious charge. So this is where things currently stand. As we pointed out, that the surveys have been on for over 5 hours now. Now let's also talk to you about the statement that has been put out by the BBC. It was a short and brief one, but they in fact confirmed that yes, IT department officials are present at their offices. This is what the statement says, and I'm reading from it and I'm quoting them. The income tax authorities are currently at the BBC offices in New Delhi and Mumbai, and we are fully cooperating. We hope to have this situation resolved as soon as possible, end quote. That was a brief statement that we got from the BBC. After this, there has been no other communication. Even as part of the internal communication, there has been exactly one message that was sent to the employees, which was asking them to go back home. So what is happening on the ground? Are we looking at any movement at the BBC offices? Let's bring in our colleagues to try and understand what really is happening. Anshul has been tracking all these developments for us from outside the BBC office in the national capital. Yesha has been tracking all the developments in Mumbai. Anshul, coming to you first, I believe it's been over 5.5 hours now. Are the officials still there?
So yes, as you rightly mentioned, it has been over 5.5 hours since the IT salutes came out here at the BBC office in the national capital. The salutes are still inside the BBC office, what we are being told. In fact, I'll try and show you the visuals over here. This is the building in which the BBC office is, and the 4th and 5th floors of this building belong to the BBC. So what we are being told at this point in time, that the raids that were happening on the 4th floor, that has on the 5th floor, that has come to an end, and on the 6th floor where the HR and admin teams are, the survey is happening right there at this point in time. So yes, initially the employees who were present inside the campuses, they were asked to not operate the official systems and also not operate their mobile phones. However, we are expecting that in the next few minutes the survey is likely to come to an end and the IT officials are likely to leave from here in the next few minutes itself. But yes, this has triggered a massive controversy because it has given a lot of ammunition to the opposition to attack the BJP at this point in time. However, the BJP has constantly been saying that this is an investigation that is being carried out by an agency on allegations that have not been put right now, but these allegations have been made against the BBC for a very long time now. In fact, several notices were already sent to the BBC, after which today's survey has been conducted, and not only the survey but also the manner in which the IT salutes initially informed the local police station over here, and along with the team of police, they have managed to get inside the BBC office where they are currently conducting the survey. So yes, we are expecting that in the next few minutes the survey is likely to come to an end for the day. But yes, we are very eagerly awaiting for the statement to come from the IT department as to what were the exact reasons, what were the allegations that they were actually probing. We know that there are discrepancies in the transactions that happened between the BBC's London office and the BBC's bureau office out here in the national capital, and in fact all over India. So yes, there are financial frauds that might have happened, and that is something that the IT income tax department is investigating at this point in time, and they have also made it very clear that this has nothing to do with the editorial stand of the BBC, as many have been pointing out that after the documentary that was published by the BBC against Prime Minister Modi, it is after that such action has been taken, but that is absolutely untrue and baseless, because these allegations have been put out against the BBC for a very long time, for months now, and after completing all the due procedure, we are finally being told that today's survey has been conducted. This survey could continue over the next few days as well, if at all the teams feel that there are more documents that they need to verify before coming to an end in this entire matter. But yes, at this point in time, it has already been more than 5 hours, approximately 6 hours have passed. The survey is continuing. We are being told that the survey is now happening on the 6th floor of the BBC headquarters out here.
So we'll keep watching all these developments. Anshu, we'll still see when the officials of the IT department actually leave that office of the BBC in the national capital. But let's also understand what's happening in Mumbai. Yesha, when we tell our viewers that possibly the IT department is looking at tax irregularities, talk to us about the kind of documents that your sources are telling you that have been asked by the BBC from the IT department, and what are these tax irregularities that we're talking about?
So when we speak about tax irregularities, it's been particularly mentioned by the income tax team that this is also the case of diversion of profits. Now here what we see is that according to our IT sources, profits could have been diverted, and which is where you would have seen there's tax evasion taking place, which is why all the records, bank sheets as well as balance sheets is what income tax department would be looking at, so that they could get a clarity as to what has been transfer of funds from India towards UK and vice versa. Apart from that, we also talk about transfer pricing. We are also trying to understand here that this transfer pricing, as in, was it any kind of a discrepancy that took place also when it comes to broadcasting rights of BBC. All these are the kind of aspects that IT department is looking at. What we talk about, like even in Delhi, there has been details sought from admin, IT as well as finance as well as HR team. These are the kind of aspects that income tax will look at. It's not particularly editorial team. Also, those employees who were part of the team, their phones have been seized, so that there's no information that can be passed on. But particularly, it will be the finance team who will be made answerable here, so that all these details, be it the transactions that have been done by them, balance sheets, income tax files, all of that is something that the IT department is looking at.
Okay, Yesha and Anshul, thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Keep tracking all those developments for us. Let's also bring in our guests and representatives of the BJP and the Congress. From the BJP, we have Charu Pragya, who is joining us on the broadcast. From the Congress, we have Dolly Sharma. Good to have both of you on the broadcast with us. Charu, let me begin the conversation with you first. We've seen multiple reactions since morning as far as the opposition is concerned. It's almost looking like a joint opposition at this point. They're all saying one thing, that yes, even if there were irregularities, why now? Why are these surveys happening now? They are saying that there was a documentary that was put out by the BBC and now these surveys are happening. So you can connect the dots. The timing is questionable.
The opposition in India will always put political, personal, petty gain above what is right for the country, above what is right legally. It's as simple as that, and it's very, very unfortunate. BBC has been sent repeated notices many times over the last several years to make sure these irregularities are done away with. There is deliberate non-compliance of international tax norms. Deliberate. And it has been happening. There is probably, they're not just violating, there is diversion of profits. And if the income tax department is asking for any kind of correction of this, if the income tax department is saying, publish some reasons, give some documents, I don't understand what is the problem. This is not a raid. This is basically a survey which is being carried out. And why are they defending BBC so much? Rishtedari kya lagti hai BBC se? And this is not about one documentary BBC has done from the very beginning, whether it is our government in power or the Congress government in power in the past. BBC has always been looked upon as a broadcasting medium which is unreliable. It's all over the world this truth is known. So whether, it's African countries, whether it is UK itself, there are so many European countries, they fabricate stories. All of that we know. All of that we very well know. And because the Congress spokesperson wants to defend the BBC here, let me remind her only once in the past they have been expelled from this country. And that was done by our former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi.
Yeah.
Do you want to defend that, or do you want to focus on the fact that it's nation above every other thing, and that is the job of our authorities today to make sure no foreign
fair point that you've made, Charu. Dolly, let me bring you in the conversation. I'm not even going back to what had happened under the regime of Indira Gandhi, so on and so forth, but just speaking specifically as far as these surveys are concerned, just help our viewers understand if the agencies feel that there are some sort of irregularities and they want to look into it. Is any organization above the law today?
See, I want to bring in one thing that you must have seen a video of Prime Minister appreciating BBC. In the past, Prime Minister used to appreciate BBC like anything. He always used to say that we must work like BBC. And now when this BBC tried to bring out a documentary on Prime Minister on Gujarat riots, now it has become very essential to do all such raids.
No, but Dolly, it's not a raid, it's a survey. One second, Dolly. Even if you look at the statement that has been put out by the BBC themselves, they themselves don't call it a raid. What we're understanding, this is only a survey at this stage. What the BJP is essentially trying to ask the opposition is that, okay, you want to attack the government, that's your job, that's how a democracy functions. But let these surveys at least be complete. Let the IT department put out an official statement. Let everybody see what they were looking into. Before the process is complete, why are we jumping to conclusions?
Nobody is jumping into conclusion, but it is after the documentary released by the BBC, everybody got to know that, they have something in BBC's office that they have to, look into it. Like they're doing everything just because Prime Minister is being questioned in the documentary. They first didn't allow the documentary to be aired in India, and now this. So everything's
but Dolly, that's what we're saying. If for anybody, and I'm sure you also know, what happened with the screening of the documentary is a right of the opposition to attack, and they protested about it. But what's happening as far as the checks and balances by the agencies are concerned, that's completely separate. That's exactly what I'm trying to understand. But Charu, the opposition doesn't seem to be buying that argument that when you say that it's just a survey, not a raid, the opposition is saying use whatever word you want to use. we know what's happening here. Look at the multiple reactions. The likes of Mahua Moitra and others also said, we aren't really surprised. This was expected. This is dictatorship, nothing else.
Just because the reaction is echoed, it does not mean that it's the correct one, Ridhima. The fact of the matter is, when BBC doesn't have a problem, they are clearly saying this is not a raid, this is a survey. I don't know why the opposition...
Actually, they haven't used any word in their statement. They've just said that IT department... No, Charu, if you look at the BBC statement, they've actually not said whether it's a survey or a raid. They've not used any word. But I'm saying as far as the opposition is concerned, they're not buying this argument of calling it a survey and it not being seen as a raid.
But see, first of all, it is not for the opposition to buy an argument. This is not an argument here. If any foreign company is operating on Indian soil and they want to siphon away profits, if they don't want to comply with international tax regulations, they have to be answerable. And like I said, this is not the first time that they've been asked to furnish some kind of proof, some kind of documents, and to correct their past mistakes. Notices have gone to them in the past also. So what's the big deal here? The only big deal is that the opposition wants to connect everything back to Modi ji, and that is unfortunate. And I don't even want to get into the politics of that documentary because I have a whole list. In fact, the list is like 3 pages long, Ridhima. If you'll give me time, I will read out to you where BBC has found to be fake and false, and not just on Indian stories, repeatedly on Indian stories, but stories from all around the world. So let's not get into that. Let's focus on the fact that if it is Indian money which should come to our country and it's being siphoned off, let our authorities investigate it and don't politicize stupidly the kind of things which you will understand if you just bother to read a little bit. Just go back and understand what the IT department is doing, what are they asking for, what are the irregularities of the BBC, and everybody will know. Without knowing that, one person makes a hue and cry and all the others echo it without understanding. That's neither fair nor intelligent.
Yeah. Dolly, let me bring you back in the conversation. There are two things that I want to understand. One, what is the position of the Congress for the BBC? Because the point that even Charu was trying to make, and this is exactly the point that a lot of other BJP representatives have made right through the day, that under the Indira Gandhi regime, BBC in fact was blocked and banned. So that time we didn't see the Congress up in arms. Today it's just convenient because a documentary has been put out, and whatever you feel about the documentary, that's your role as the opposition. You're allowed to have that stand. The second is specifically as far as the allegations against the BBC, and this is what we're picking up by means of sources also. When you talk about tax irregularity, sources are telling us that this is actually not for the first time. There were notices that were sent to the BBC in the past, and because they were non-compliant is why these surveys are taking place. So shouldn't the citizen of the country actually know if there is an organization that is trying to either launder money or trying to evade the regulations?
Aditi, actually the timing of the raids on BBC no more suggests but establishes that India is fast losing its democratic image. India's democracy is under siege. Judiciary and journalism are the last surviving bastions. So here it's clearly visible with the timing. With the timings of the raids, it's clearly visible, and it establishes that whosoever speaks against this government has to face it. So this is the real harassment. This is the real harassment of any agency. We've seen in the past also many agencies who face the same thing. For that matter, I don't want to name the channels. We've seen they've done this in the UP channels. On the UP channels also.
Ma'am, I was only trying to understand the position of the Congress party as far as the BBC is concerned, and I was also trying to understand that if there has been a non-compliance by an organization, why shouldn't the agencies look into it? And once they find, and even if they don't find anything, those findings also will be in front of us. But unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I'd like to thank my colleagues and our guests, Charu, Pragya and Dolly Sharma. This is a story that we'll keep tracking very, very closely. But for now, we're slipping into a very short break.